Good evening and welcome, everyone. My name is Flora Maria Garcia, and I am the moderator for this forum, which is being sponsored by the League of Women Voters of St. Petersburg area in partnership with the Pinellas Beaches Chamber of Commerce. The League of Women Voters was founded 106 years ago, just before women gained the right to vote in 1920. We are a nonpartisan public policy organization that has never endorsed a political candidate or party. The League encourages informed and active participation in government and works to increase understanding of public policy issues through education and advocacy. And we have welcomed men as League members since 1974. Tonight's forum features the candidates for the Madeira Beach Commissioners District 2, Charles Chuck Dillion and Mr. Ray Kerr. The 2026 municipal election will be held on March 10th. As a courtesy to others, please silence all electronic devices. This forum is being recorded by the City of Madeira Beach and will be posted on the League's website, as well as the Pinellas Beaches website. The recording may not be edited or used for campaign purposes. No other recording of this forum is permitted. For those in the audience who wish to submit a question card, please raise your hand and a League volunteer will collect it. We will address as many questions from the audience as time permits. Please note that this forum is a forum and not a debate. The purpose of the forum is to provide candidates with an opportunity to present their views on issues of concern to the Madeira Beach community. Interruptions and personal attacks are not permitted. Our process for tonight is as follows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Mr. Dillion won the coin toss, so he will go first. Then each candidate will be asked the same question. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. A timekeeper will provide a 1-minute warning, a 30-second warning, and a stop signal for when the time has expired. After the question and answer portion, each candidate will have a 2-minute closing statement, and Mr. Kerr will go first on the closing statement. The views expressed by the candidates this evening are their own and do not represent those of the League of Women Voters. The candidates will now make their opening statements. Mr. Dillion, you're first.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chuck Dillion, and I'm running for District 2 Commissioner. 4 years ago, I ran against Ray and lost by 2 votes. Since that time, I've had a few different opinions on several key issues facing our city. Those differences are one of the reasons that I'm running again. I remain deeply involved in city affairs and have served on the planning committee for the past 4 years, staying engaged, informed, and focused on the decisions that directly impact our residents. Thank you.
Mr. Kerr.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ray Kerr, your District 2 Commissioner and proud 2-term incumbent. I've had the honor of serving as Vice Mayor twice. In my first term, I championed the idea that we needed to update our master plan from 2002, and with the board's overwhelming support and many months of resident input, the updated master plan was adopted just last November 2025. When you elected me in 2022, I outlined my priorities on my website at kerrcares.com. The website still stands unchanged as I continue to fight to improve the city. I can continue to fight to eliminate the residential impact fees as we struggle to elevate or rebuild our homes, and I am exploring the outsourcing of trash collection to cut expenses for the city, families, and businesses. I've also pushed for the removal of the abandoned overhead cables and green copper phone line boxes that were installed decades ago and continue to drag down our neighborhoods. The city marina has always been a top priority. We stepped up and bought that critical 4.56 acre waterfront property at the Tom Stewart Causeway entrance, blocking an out-of-scale 8-story hotel that would have changed the face of our city forever. My vision is turning that property into a revenue-generating asset for all of us, with shops, restaurants, event space, fishing charters, beautiful walkways, and elevated parking that eases the crunch without overdeveloping our gateway. I'm concerned that the city continues to move forward with the construction of the Public Works building at the marina prior to the design of the new 555 property. I'm being cut off.
But you get the first question, candidate
Okay.
Kerr. So the first question is, if pending state legislation results in reduced property tax revenue for the city of Madeira Beach, how would you recommend the city address the potential budget impact?
Well, for one, I would lobby the state to allow us to offset the $3 million fire, EMS, and police costs that I feel is a direct impact from our over 3 million tourists that we get annually. I'd like to see a 1% addition to the tourist tax, and that distributed back to the municipalities that it came from to help offset that burden. I would think that the state would also have some input on sales tax, or they have other things they're talking about to replace the lost funding from the ad valorem taxes. Now you have to remember, they're only talking about the homestead, and one bill is even goes further, and it's homestead senior citizens over 65. So nothing's been hammered out yet at the state level, to my knowledge. So it's not like they would take away all of our ad valorem taxes. That, and I want to increase our parking revenue. Parking is our second most revenue generator. And by putting a parking garage at Johns Pass Village and another at our other bookend at the marina, I believe that we'll be able to replace those costs.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dillion, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you? If pending
Yes,
state
please.
legislation is reduced property tax revenue, if pending legislation results in reduced property tax revenue, how would you recommend the city address the potential budget impact?
Well, first of all, the cities do not receive that much of the property taxes. As an example, I was looking at the taxes with somebody the other day, and what was basically a $6,000 annual tax, I believe the city received $850 of that tax. So everybody thinks that the city gets all these taxes, but ultimately, I don't really think that the proportions are that large. Other than that, Ray has the advantage here. He has been on the committee, on the commission, and he sees those numbers more than I do. And if it would take effect, if I am elected, I would get into it a lot deeper and be more involved with it.
All right, thank you. The second question is for Mr. Dillion. How would you increase city revenue without raising parking rates?
Well, I agree with Mr. Kerr on that in terms of we are looking at right now the idea of building a parking garage down at Johns Pass. That is in the works. And then with the property that we just purchased over here by the bridge, I strongly feel that we need some sort of parking garage and or facilities over there. Many of the people don't want the idea of the parking, but it's something that we made a big investment and we need to get some of that money back. And I don't know about raising the rates at this point. We did raise them, and I would say to keep them similar to what the rest of the beach communities are doing. So staying in line with that, it is our big revenue for the city. So by overdoing it, I don't think that we will gain very much by that. But certainly additional parking is needed majorly.
Mr. Kerr, same question. How would you increase city revenue without raising parking rates?
Well, I believe our investment in the new property, I'm calling it the 555 property because it's 555 150th Avenue. It's that peninsula at our gateway. It's a responsibility of the board to make that a revenue generating area with leases on restaurants, shops, the wet slips, and of course putting parking there because we're going to need parking. And Chuck hit it on the head. It's not that I don't think anybody wants to raise parking rates, but we want to increase parking spots. So we need that for our businesses. We're in Johns Pass Village, we have for many years, and from prior boards, we're able to do that because we already have $1.5 million in our coffers because of the additional revenue that we've generated specifically for that from on parking. We added an extra 50 cents and put into a special budget for that. So the board is very active, and that's on the parking for Johns Pass Village in the short term. The new property is more of a long-term strategy, but I see with the right foresight and design, we can definitely do that. As I started to mention in my opening, I believe that parking garage should sit where the Public Works building is proposed, and perhaps slide the Public Works building to the opposite side of the property on the south side. I haven't had an opportunity to bring that to the board yet, but that would be my solution to the problem.
So following up, this question is for Mr. Kerr on tolls. What is your position regarding tolls on all beach access bridges?
Absolutely not. I don't see that as a revenue generator. I see that as a restriction, and people would not want to come to our beaches. There's plenty of beaches that you can reach, Clearwater Beach, or I mean, you have miles of beach that you can go to. So we need to support our businesses, and having parking at both ends of our city, I think, is terrific, because many of the day tourists would be able to park as soon as they come into the city and not travel through our city. So I think that's a great opportunity, and it's an opportunity for micro-mobility through our city, from Johns Pass Village to Archibald Park, back up to the 555 property. I don't see any reason for tolls.
Mr. Dillion, same question. What is your position regarding tolls on all beach access bridges?
I agree completely with Ray in terms of there's no need for it. And the big one is Treasure Island is looking to put tolls on their bridges. And if indeed that happens, that's going to make our bridges even that much more crowded. It's a beach community. It's always been that way. And if the state-sponsored, well, there's no reason to have it. I mean, in terms of if there's got to be upkeep, it's something that would have to be put into the budgets. And I mean, to the tolls, I just see are very unfortunate. And a good example of that is going down to through St. Pete Beach at the south end, where you got to pay the toll there. And they say that it was for that big, beautiful bridge. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I disagree with tolls on access to the beaches.
This next question starts with Mr. Dillon. What new property development would you support?
I support new property development that's reasonable. And by reasonable, having an open communication with the developers. We are going to have development one way or the other as to whether or not you're opposed to it, but having reasonable developments is what is necessary. And having an open line of communication with those developments, I feel could make the process go a lot smoother and simpler. And very good example is the 2 condominiums we have here on 150th. They were held down to the height restriction because of what was going on. So what you have there is short, squatty, ugly buildings. And now after the fact, if they had given them one more story, nobody would have told the difference between 5 stories and 6 stories. But if they had given them the ability of having one more story, it would have been a smaller footprint and more beautiful. And at least that's my opinion.
Mr. Kerr, same question. What new property development would you support?
I believe new property development would have to be in the commercial zone, C1, C2, C3, where the density would allow that. In our residential zones, let's keep those as residential properties. Let's keep the restrictions on rentals the way they are in each of those zones. I may get it backwards, but I think the R1 zone is 6 months, and we need to keep it that way. We have families back here. It's not just about the value of our properties and who's in the building and what the traffic looks like. We have families, we have communities. We need to keep those communities. So as far as development, it has to be restricted to the Golf Boulevard corridor, to the Thomas Stewart Causeway, where you already have high density development. I don't think I need any more time for that one. Thank you. Thank you.
The next question is for Mr. Kerr. What actions would you take to make the city more resilient?
The first thing I would do is have the building department reimagine stormwater drainage. When they're redoing a road, I think Bay Point is up next. They can't elevate it because of the stormwater. If you had parallel stormwater channels, you could elevate it. Just up in Reddington Beach, you have drainage right at the roadway, but not in the roadway on properties. So we need to get to a point where we can start elevating our roads and undergrounding our utilities. It would not only make us more resilient, it would make it a better looking place. Our communities, it would be an upgrade. So as far as resiliency, you know, it's heartbreaking to me that I see all these new homes being built, and they're built at the same elevation that they were, the old elevation. We need to have goals, maybe not restrictions, but goals to elevate our homes. When you tear it down, when you elevate it, that your lowest base level needs to have a goal of whatever that is. Let somebody smarter than I am. Is it 7 feet above sea level? What should those seawalls look like? Should it be 5-foot elevation? I think, in my opinion, in the long term, it'll benefit all of us.
Same question, Mr. Dillon. What actions would you take to make the city more resilient?
Well, resilient in what way? I mean, you know, that's a very vague question, you know, and that's where I'm sorry Ray was kind of all over the place, but resilient in what fashion? I mean, you know, I'm I'm sorry, I don't really understand what resilience you want of the city.
We can go on to the next question, which is
Okay.
for you, Mr. Dillon.
Okay,
This is about beach replenishment. Beach communities have faced challenges in completing full beach replenishment projects, such as Kitty Park. What actions should the city take to support beach preservation, public cleanliness, protection of endangered species, and storm resilience?
well, first of all, what we've done with the groins is a phenomenal job. And in fact, and that's something that I was talking to one of the staff the other day, and they were talking about how the sand is coming back onto the groins. So we are replenishing our sand, and be it from the dredging that's going on at John's Pass, but the sand is coming back. And Mother Nature has a way of doing its own replenishment. Many years ago, I said, well, Tropical Storm Debbie sat up in the Panhandle for 5 or 6 days and took away our beach. And it was just like we lost half or 3/4 of our beach. That same year, Hurricane Sandy devastated New York. But at that time, we were being replenished and our beach came back. But also, I truly feel that the groins are what is keeping our beaches, Madeira beaches, in place. And we have been having those for years, and we have not had to have the government come in and re-nourish our beach.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Kerr. What actions should the city take to support beach preservation, public cleanliness, protection of endangered species, and storm resilience?
It is a lot there. As far as there is so much. I mean, one of our greatest assets is our pirates that clean our beaches. I mean, they're just wonderful. As far as the wildlife, we have the birds nesting, but they typically nest up further north. As far as the beaches are concerned, the actual sand, yeah, we were very blessed in being able to get our beach groins reestablished. And if you talk to Visit St. Pete Clearwater, we don't get any sand because they tell us, well, we replenish our neighbors up north, and we get all that sand as the storms come in, and it just pulls it down into our beach, which is a blessing and a curse because it also brings it down into our pass. So, as far as that's concerned, I'd like to see the north jetty at the pass extended. So maybe it'll slow down that migration of sand into the pass, and maybe even extend our little beach area right there at the jetty. So I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. And this question is for you, Mr. Kerr, on flooding and infrastructure. Flooding remains a concern for many residents. How would you propose the city prioritize and fund infrastructure improvements to reduce flooding and protect property? And this from the audience, do you have plans to form a citizens advisory committee to plan in the event of another disaster?
Well, the city has collected a lot of information from this last storm. So as far as actually reacting to the next storm to try to be ahead of the game, they continue to try to improve that. Mr. Dillion said I was all over the place on on the infrastructure piece, but why do we use the roads to collect all the rainwater from all the homes just to bring it to a stormwater drain underneath the roads? And that's the reasoning that you don't want, they won't allow the roads to be elevated if one home is below the center line of the road. There's always going to be one home that's below the center line of the road. So we need to come up with a different plan. So when we replace the stormwater, we need to be able to do it so that if we elevate the road 6 inches, a foot, whatever it is, that we don't, the water doesn't have to run from their home onto the road to make it into a drain, a pipe that's underneath. So hopefully that gave a little bit more clarity in what I'd like to see as far as the city doing. And it's more of a creating goals for our homeowners and allowing them to raise their seawall more than 18 inches above the center line of the road. How did the center line of the road have anything to do with your seawall? You should have a goal of 5-foot elevation, in my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Dillion. Same question. How would you propose the city prioritize and fund infrastructure improvements to reduce flooding and protect property? And the second part of the question, do you have plans to form a citizens advisory committee to plan in the event of another disaster?
Can't we take those as two questions? I mean, it seems like, yeah, we're being bombarded with many things and we have a tough time getting through one of them. I mean, and it sounds like we're already having audience questions. So, I mean, so I would think that if you broke those down, the people would have a better idea as to what exactly we're looking at.
Then
And
let's take the flooding question, flooding and infrastructure improvement, and then after that, I'll follow up with the Citizens Advisory Committee question.
Okay, well, first of all, we're in a floodplain area. I mean, when people bought here, they should have realized that you're surrounded with water. So there's not a whole lot you can do. And they're saying that, in 10, 20 years, the average water height is going to be 6-8 inches taller. So if you create a bathtub, the water is going to find its own level. So there's no real way of eliminating it. All you can do is try to help with it. Mother Nature is going to do its thing, whether you want to or not. One of the things that we can do as a city is try to help the runoff go quicker. And that is what I believe the process is going on by improving the flow. There's bigger pipes being put in as each of the city and areas are being developed. And with that, you have a better means of getting the water out of the properties into where it goes back. However, if the water level is high in the bay, it's got nowhere to go. So to some extent, it doesn't really matter. You can't fight Mother Nature, is basically what I'm saying. You can help try to confine it and getting potentially relief valves that will open and close. And if we have heavy rains, the water fills up and then it goes out and does not come back in. But if the water level out in the bay is king tides in that, there's no stopping it. It's just, that's the price of living in paradise.
Thank you. So the next question is for Mr. Dillion. Do you have plans to form a Citizens Advisory Committee to plan in the event of another disaster?
I would like to potentially start that. I don't know what the process takes, but we used to have another group, citizens group, that was no longer used, but having more abilities of having the people that live in the city. I mean, I had somebody call me the other day who he and his wife are both engineers, and they would very happily help with the information. And what we have to do as a city, and what I find, is that we have to be able to reach out to these people and get their advice. And that's one of the things I'm big on, is listening to what the people say. And in terms of water and everything, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm not going to promise that we're not going to flood, because if anybody does that, they're blowing smoke. So we're in a water area. So yes, I would like to see possibly, probably more committees formed and have more ideas from different sources.
Okay, then Mr. Kerr, same question. Do you have plans to form a citizens advisory group to plan in the event of another disaster?
I don't have plans to form a group. However, I'm open to any group that would like to self-form and bring their expertise to the city, and I would endorse that. I don't know everything. If we have specialists in the city on engineering or anything else, on website design, on a number of things, come talk to the board, present your ideas. I don't think it's going to get very far for the board to actually say, okay, we want to form this committee, and try to drum up people to fill the positions. So that would be my opinion.
Next question is for Mr. Dillion. What are your plans to protect the privacy of residents who have tall structures with cameras overlooking private property?
Say that again?
What are your plans to protect the privacy of residents who have tall structures with cameras overlooking private property?
Well, I personally think it's kind of a violation. You should not be able to be spying on your neighbor. And if indeed that is a case, I don't know what the legal ramifications are and everything, but my personal opinion is it's wrong. Now, as to whether or not it is legally wrong, I don't know. But my personal opinion is that's a no-no.
Mr. Kerr, same question.
I'm sure this has come before the state. There has to be certain laws and restrictions and ordinances on that. I would leave that pretty much to the lawyers. What's my stance on it? Be good neighbors. I mean, that's people fly drones and get in trouble for that, for looking where they shouldn't be looking. Follow the law.
This is for Mr. Kerr. What is your vision for the newly acquired 4-acre waterfront property, and how will you ensure that sufficient community input takes place before any development decisions are made?
Well, we've already had 3, and one more is scheduled on Saturday, public meetings where we've been able to collect lots of input from everyone. Great ideas, some that I would have never thought of or considered from different areas of the country. My personal vision is to, as far as is to have restaurants. I'm talking Lowry's, some sort of chain like that, more upscale. I don't think we need so much pub type menus. And lease that property. I'm not sure how that would look like yet, from the city to that restaurateur. Shops, same way. Lease the space, they own it, the city owns it. Have a nice wide paved walkway along the seawall, tiered above a boardwalk, so that you'd be able to see the water from 2 different ways, and that would easily elevate the buildings and that walkway. Have that border the seawall, and then in the center, more green space where we can, more event space, I'll call it, where, in my mind, and I've done a conceptual drawing, the event would be from the corner where people could bring chairs in the evening, listen to whatever band, have a playground where young children could play. And that's why I'm so heavily strong in having the elevated parking where the proposed public works area is now on the marina.
Thank you. Mr. Dillon, same question. Your vision for the newly acquired 4-acre waterfront property.
Well, first of all, I feel it's just my vision, and that's mine. I mean, but this is for the residents, and this is why I feel that these meetings that we're having are very important. And what the residents really want is what I'm kind of in favor of. However, with the priority of we have to make the money back. I mean, so one way or the other, and I've gone to the meetings, and a lot of the opinions are make it a park. Well, it would be quite an expensive park. And, we have to generate revenue to pay for this. And with that, it could be, it could be, as I said, we have phenomenal minds in the city, and a couple of which are potential developers. And not that they would go in and build or do anything on the property, but they have insight as to different things, as to what might be available or what could work very well there. So my vision is kind of irrelevant. It's just a matter of I feel what the people of the city want. And that's where I'm going to be for the people of the city.
Next question is for Mr. Dillon. Our local business community and partners are not all residents of Madeira Beach, but they need the support of the city. How will you work with the business owners, residents or not?
Well, I feel we currently do work with the businesses, and there's many of the businesses that are not residents. However, I'm not exactly sure or privy to the exact workings because I'm not in the avenue or area where I'm no information that's done. However, I do believe that the city has done over and above, and especially for all the businesses, than everybody that got affected by this hurricane 16 months ago. So I feel we as a city have helped as much as we kind of can. Maybe possibly we could help more, but there's a limit as to how much you give and then how much they expect. So I would by all means help our businesses, and that's one of the things I had brought up as far as like at the pass, to have businesses. And at one point I said, let's get a hold of the people down at John's Pass and see if they would like to have a second facility there, and then have a a trolley between the pass and here. I mean, but it's just, and these are just kind of my thoughts. But once again, it's a matter of what we have for the people. And we have a lot of very bright people in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Kerr, same question. How will you work with business owners, residents or not?
The board is currently meeting with the businesses on a monthly basis down in Johns Pass Village. The biggest thing we can do for the businesses down there is get this parking garage built, and so that people can affordably visit our city at city parking rates. We get a bad look on social media because of the dynamic parking that they have down there from the private lots. And people come for the first time and they have that experience and they put on social media that they'll never be back because of that experience. And that has nothing to do with the city or the businesses or any of that. So we need to get this parking garage built quickly. Now, most of the businesses, I would say, are not residents and they don't have a vote. But that's okay, because what they bring to the neighborhood is not only value for us to go visit the restaurants and shops, and when our families come to visit, we have a great place to enjoy why we live here. But by bringing all the tourists, those revenue dollars are and the parking is extremely important. And by building this new garage, I'm very hopeful that even if property taxes are not changed in any way, that our parking revenue exceeds our ad valorem taxes, our property taxes quickly. So that's my goal, and it has been my goal for the last 4 years.
Thank you. This question is from the audience, Mr. Kerr. Most of the commission meetings drag on for too long because the commissioners are not prepared. How will you show up and be present at commission meetings?
I'm very proud of my attendance record. Over 4 years, I think I missed one meeting, and that includes several meetings after the storm where I drove back from Jacksonville Beach here just for the meeting. And as far as being prepared, I believe we're very prepared. I can't control what others do on the board. We do debate items, and that's what we're here for. That's what we signed up for. And did we have? I think we had one workshop that was extremely long, and that's probably why we are getting that question. But as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. It's all recorded. You don't have to, if you can't be here, you can watch it in sections, watch it in segments. I don't mind it. The other, we've started to make the meetings earlier so they don't go on as long, but me personally, I'd like to stick with 2 meetings a month, and maybe we limit what's on that agenda and push things into a following month's meeting. But we try to be prepared. We have packets to go through, sometimes very thick, and it's a lot of reading. A lot of it is it's like reading a novel each week, so it can be time constraining. But I think in general we do a pretty good job.
Mr. Dillion, same question. Would you like for me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Most of the commission meetings drag on for too long because the commissioners are not prepared. How will you show up and be present at commission meetings?
Well, in a way, it's a difficult question for me because I'm not a commissioner. I am in the planning committee, and when I go to those meetings, generally speaking, they last anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes to 20 minutes. So as to whether or not the preparation is that much more involved, I'm not really too sure. But if I do my homework when I go to the planning committees, and I've been a pain to some of the staff because I always want a printed copy of what the meeting minutes are going to be and the agenda, and I go through them kind of page by page, and I'm not real computer literate, so I can't have multiple screens and all that open at the same time and be able to refer one to the other. So, but I really feel that, yes, I think they are long-winded, and that's why I think possibly that's why a lot of the residents don't come, because they are long. And as to whether or not there's means of shortening them, I would by all means certainly try to look into it.
Thank you. This is the last question from the audience before we move into the closing remarks. Please elaborate on your qualifications to run and serve as it pertains to the residency requirement to run for District 2 Commissioner. Mr. Dillion, this question is for you first.
Well, I'm not really too sure, other than, I've been a resident here for 15 years. I built my house that I'm living in 12 years ago, moved in 13, and I have to brag that I didn't really like what I had to do when I built then, but I ultimately only wound up getting like 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch of water in my garage during the storm. My neighbors across the canal got 3 feet in their house. Across the street, they got 2 feet in their garage. So I have a lot to bring to the table. I have 4 years in the planning committee, and I feel I can, help the city out with my experience.
Thank you. Mr. Dillon, same question. Would you like for me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Please elaborate on your qualification to run and serve as it pertains to the residency requirement to run for District 2 Commissioner.
Okay, I think that one's aimed at me. So Hurricane Helene put 3 foot of water in our home. Immediately following, I was given a call by our city attorney, Tom Trask, and we had a long talk about what my plans were, what's my intent. And he had a series of questions that I'm sure was to determine my status on the board. We still have a homestead. That's still our home. We might not sleep there, but that's our home. We have spent tens of thousands of dollars on architectural plans, engineering for that lot. We're moving at the fastest speed we can to be sleeping on that property. We're currently sleeping a mile north of here. I often walk to City Hall to pick up my packet or just to move. I am 65 years old now. So I'm physically closer to City Hall than I was when I was on Crystal Island. So when I put my name in with the Board of Elections to run, a resident actually put a complaint into the Board of Elections and they took pictures of my lot stating that I don't live here. How can I run? That I falsified my information to run. My home address is still on Johns Pass Avenue, and I take offense to that. So this has all been gone through with the city attorney, and I'm qualified.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr. We will now go to closing remarks. Mr. Kerr, you will go first, and then Mr. Dillon. 2 minutes.
Madeira Beach neighbors, as your 2-term district commissioner and twice vice mayor, I bring experience from my 4 years on the board, running my own business for decades, serving on the planning commission prior to being on the board, and living full-time with my wife, Sue, here since 2017. We are rebuilding our home alongside you after Helene and Milton, sharing the same frustrations with power outages, permitting delays, and flood risk. That personal stake sharpens my focus and helps me make informed decisions on budget, staffing, smart growth, and protecting our small town charm in a city that welcomes over 3 million visitors a year without overburdening the locals. My top priorities remain clear. First, post-hurricane recovery and resilience. The city has learned a lot and has updated manuals and procedures in the event of another storm. I'll keep pushing for grants to bury power lines, elevate roads and seawalls, reimagine stormwater systems, and push for lower flood insurance. Our building department does great by providing daily walk-in help, but we need more transparency. Publishing average permit wait times would be a great achievement on our website. Second, turning our historic 4.56 acre Thomas Stewart Causeway purchase into a revenue generator with shops and restaurants, event space, fishing charters, which we'll finally be able to do because we have better parking. Wide paver walkways and elevated parking without putting that elevated parking garage on the site. And we want to integrate that with the adjacent marina property for one cohesive design. On taxes, I support homestead relief for seniors, but cities can't lose ad valorem revenue without a replacement. Let's shift the burden to tourism, boost parking revenue with new garages at Johns Pass and the marina, and lobby the state to allow a bed tax to cover our $3 million public safety costs driven by visitors. Being cut off again.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr.
Yeah.
Mr. Dillon, you have 2 minutes as your closing remarks.
Okay, well, first, resilience, the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. Well, that is kind of a wide open subject to ask about. Then finally, Ray has been in office for 4 years. If you've liked what he's done, vote for him. If not, vote for me. Either way, please vote March 10th. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you to the candidates for participating this evening and for your commitment to public service. A few reminder for the voters. Please contact the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections to ensure your mailing address is current. Vote by mail ballots cannot be forwarded. Florida law requires voters to request a vote by mail ballot after each general election. Vote by mail ballots must be received by the Supervisor of Elections no later than 7 p.m. on Election Day. Nonpartisan information about the election, the candidates, and their responses to additional questions is available on the League of Women Voters Guide at vote411.org. Thank you to the League volunteers who assisted with this forum, to the city staff for their support and for hosting this event, and for all of you who attended. Please vote. This concludes the Madeira Beach Candidate Forum. Good night.